Welcome in, everybody.
Good afternoon or good morning, depending on which time zone you're in. I'm in the afternoon. Where are you at, Preston?
I am still morning, 10 a.m.
Oh,
here in Portland, Oregon,
all
and
right.
sunny, which is not often out here. So we're feeling good right now.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm hitting sunny too. It's 65 just about
That's
today. So,
nice. Got to enjoy it. Early days of summer.
oh,
If you're just jumping in, you can let us know where you're joining from. We'd
yes,
love
please
to
do.
hear it.
So I'll add in first. I'm right outside of Boston, just northwest of Boston, about 40-minute drive. So
Still haven't made it out to Boston, but I hear it's beautiful.
McAllen, Idaho, I'm gonna go with. Okay. Scottsbluff. Oh, you got a Portland out there too?
Nice. Hey,
Excellent.
Kathy, fellow Portlander, BC, Canada. Nice. Texas, South
And then just
Carolina,
cranks away. Alberta,
couple
Washington
Canadians.
State.
Nice.
There we go. Okay.
A few Pacific Northwesterns. It's great.
Yeah, there you go. They
We got
sensed you being
representation
there.
out here.
Oh, I got Connecticut. I lived in Connecticut for 12 years. Joyce and Michelle. The southeast area, so the lack of traffic area was much better. I enjoyed living down there. Well, as we let people come in, we got 50 participants. This is awesome so far. We'll give a few more minutes and then we'll kind of intro into what we're going to do here. We have a little icebreaker question that you guys could pop in the chat as we get rolling to start. Which I might share that sooner than later anyways, just to kind of get people having some fun. So, all right. So, well, yeah, let's build a momentum. Everyone just got their keyboards loose here. So here we go. Well, my name is Daniel. And this is Preston here. We're going to do ourselves a little bit better, but we are at a Tithely webinar, and we're really excited to talk through managing your admins inside of Tithely, managing your funds, and also adding guest speakers and how to just play with the speaker element of your Tithely site when adding in sermons. So there's a lot of great areas to cover here. We're gonna have a good time. But here's the icebreaker question. Here's a little bit more fun to have here. Like the best fictional character to speak at a graduation ceremony. I'm not saying yours per se, but just any like you'd want to hear this fictional character just have a good time there. And you already had one, right? What was yours?
Mine was Dumbledore. I feel like that's such
Dumbledore.
a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. So I went old school, and for me, I said I thought I would want to hear Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles do
Ah,
my like old Michelangelo, just knucklehead pizza loving,
yeah.
kind of off the cuff kind of guy. So we got the Lorax. Okay, there you
I
go.
like that
No,
one.
Superman.
Love it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Superman would be a good one. You gotta trust what Superman says there.
Hmm.
Gru, Despicable Me, yes.
Sherlock Holmes, interesting. I like that one too.
Okay, well, we'll give that one more minute here, and then we're gonna push on because obviously you guys aren't here just to talk about graduation ceremony speakers. We're here to talk about Tyler. We're here to hear about the Darth Vader. Okay, come on, that would be an excellent one. You'd do whatever Darth Vader says.
Yeah,
You're
you'd have
just, you're
to.
just yes, Lord Vader, right away, Lord Vader. It's just like, well, okay, we're gonna go with that one. All right,
Oh,
let's go on
funny.
here. So obviously here at Tithely, if you're new to Tithely, this is what we're here for you. If you've been with Tithely a long time, awesome. We're super glad you're here and whatever in between. But our customer experience, what we want you to feel is that we're by your side and for your growth. And we really work hard at building a platform that builds along with your church and along with us together. And so please let us know how that's going for you as well. And sorry, William Wallace Braveheart got me. That
Oh,
distracted me. So
another
um,
good one.
yeah, why not? Just gonna go to war right afterwards too. There. Um, my name is Daniel. I'm in onboarding CSM here, and actually I have a new role. I need to change that title for myself there, but I'm still in onboarding, and I've been with Tally for 4 years now. And go for it.
Yeah, I'm Preston. I handle all of our education materials, so webinars, your help center articles, items like that. So if you have any questions or suggestions, let me know. And I'm out here in Portland, Oregon, as mentioned.
Yeah, and yeah, Preston is the learning czar of Tithely. We get so much from it's an excellent job to be able to watch and learn from. All right, product suite. This is always a flex for us, but we always like to show you if there's something technical or technology based on the internet that you think you need for your church. There's a good chance we have it or we're trying to develop it. And so please let us know if there's something you're looking for. If it's not on this list, we do have a place where you could tell us, hey, this is what I'd like to see. And so we're always wanting to hear
Hmm.
and let you know our product suite at the end, or not at the end, anytime, honestly, down the bottom there, right next to the raise hand function, there is a Q&A spot. So if you have a question at any point during this webinar, don't put it in the chat. It will get lost most likely. We want you to put it right inside the Q&A section. And as we go through this, Preston will try to answer some questions. We'll see how it goes. And at the end, we'll have some greater time to talk through those questions. So please pop them in there and we'll do our best to answer them. It helps us track it and understand what's going on. So it's a much easier platform. Put your questions in there. We'll have a great time answering those as well. All right, so introduction here. What we're going to cover today, as I kind of already mentioned, managing your Tithely admins. This is a very important role within the Tithely platform because you want to make sure you know who's got access where and how to give access to anything. The second thing we're going to cover is managing giving funds. So the funds are super important. Right? This is what shows up on your giving form. This is where people are selecting what to give to or what you don't want them to be able to select to give to, which is just as important at times, especially now during Easter. There may be a special Easter plan going through, but you don't want that fund being available year round. I'm going to walk you through how to hide those funds, how to make those funds get archived, and even how to pull them back out of an archive so that if you want to use them again in the future. And then lastly, we're going to talk about Tithely site speakers. So when you're using Tithely sermon, we're using the sermon function within our site builder. You can associate speakers. And so if you have someone come in and guest speak, you may want to add their name in as a permanent speaker, but you may want to just label them as a guest speaker, but still give them credit. We're going to show you how to cover those and some other things as well within the speaker functionality. So let's keep going down here. So managing admin users. So the first thing here is how to get there. And I'm going to show you in a second, but it's global settings. And then you're going to pop up into users there. And there's a little bit of step in between that I did skip on purpose. Let's jump on over here. So inside Tithely, this is not a real Tithely dashboard. This is our in-house play around sandbox. So none of this is real. So if you're wondering what's going on, also if you're wondering why there's red boxes all over the place, because it's not a real church, it doesn't function truly the right way. But oh, I might be in trouble. I can't get to global settings, Preston, because that annotate button is right there in the way. This is an unforeseen glitch. I have an
Oh
idea.
no.
We're going to shrink my screen. There we go. So sorry about that. This one was not something I was aware of. The annotate button's right down the bottom there. So I can't click that. But right next to it, if you could see it, there's a little person that's called global settings. So whenever you're going to go add a user to your Tithely side here, you need to click on global settings and you go to my organization. Once you click that up here, you could see that there's a couple other functions within your organization settings. You see your locations, you see security settings, all very important stuff we're not covering today, but feel free to look into there. But then you click on users. And this is where you can create and add different people as your users. So the first thing you're going to do is if you're going to add a brand new user, the top right corner, add user. We click this, it opens up, and right in here, you're going to be able to enter in your user's email. So this is really helpful, right? You just enter in the person's email, whatever it may be. In our case, we could say grow@tithe.ly or something like that. I'm not going to actually send this because we don't want to mess up our system. And then you have two options on what you're going to give them as a user. By the way, you can see our awesome guides that pop up that explain what a super admin might be in Elvanto, but what a limited access and admin are on this side here. So if you're ever wondering, these kind of notes pop up and give you clarity on what's going on with that. But the first thing is enter email, and then you have a choice. You could choose to make them an admin, or you could choose to make them limited access. Admin gives them access to everything except for the ability to cancel the account and sign up for other subscriptions and change the bank account. So there's a couple things that the admins can't do that the account owner can, and that's a very special thing to distinguish. But in general, if you give somebody admin access, they'll have access to every one of the Tithely features that are inside of our system here. So this is a great way to give somebody access that you know is going to need to reach everything. They're going to have to get in, and you want them to be able to go into sites if you have it, You want them to play with finances. You want them to play with people. They need access to everything. Give them that. But rest assured, they can't cancel your account or change subscriptions or change bank accounts. That's still the account owner. And so that's an important distinguished thing that you want to make sure people understand when you give them that access. So if an admin reaches out and says, "Can I cancel the account?" They can't, right? But Mark Rhodes, as the account owner, can reach out and change the subscription or change the bank account and do those different things as well. Uh, that's the admin. The other role that you can add in is limited access. And so limited access here is where you could scroll down. Give me 1 second. Yeah, manage admins. I'm in the right area. I was making sure I went to the right thing. My brain just got lost there for a second there. Anyway, so what limited access is where you can give access to specific areas of the Tithely platform. And so say you have an intern coming in and you only want them to work on certain parts of it, like the app. What you could do is you can enter the email in, you go down here and choose app, and you make sure you choose location first. I'm sorry. Choose your location. If you have multiple locations, make sure you choose the location you want them to be a part of. Otherwise, just pick locations. It'll pick all of them. And then scroll down here to apps and you pick apps. And then if I were to scroll up down here and hit save changes, this would send an email to this person who is linked to the grow@tithe.ly email, and they would have access to that location. And in that location, they have access to apps. And so this gives them a great opportunity to work on what you want them to work on without worrying about them accessing all of the other parts of your Tithely platform. And that's important because we want security. You don't want somebody in there looking at finances that shouldn't be looking at finances. And you don't want somebody in there looking at the app that's going to mess up your app, right? Equally important on both sides, because we know there are people that will do both that you just don't want to do that. And so, anyways, if you want to come back in later on, so say you've given this person access, I'm not going to save this, I'm going to close out. Let's say that this is Bethany. You want to go back in, okay, we want Bethany to change what they have right now. So over here on the right side, there's a little, the function settings wheel that we always look at, the gear wheel. You're going to click this gear wheel and go to edit permissions. When you click that, it loads up what Bethany has access to. And so within this, you could see location, Mark's Test Church. You could see events, giving, messaging, people. We want to add sites to say we want Bethany to be able to access sites going forward. If I check off sites and hit save changes, it would then give them access to sites that they didn't have before. Or we don't want them having access to messaging. I can uncheck messaging and change that. And so you're able to go in and determine what people have access to and don't have access to. And then later on, go back and change that. And then ultimately, you come in and you can just delete this person altogether and they're out of the system. They can't access anything anymore. And if you go back into the gear wheel, the one other thing I want to show you there is you can duplicate these permissions. So say you got the perfect setup, you want to keep doing it over and over again, you can create a duplicate permission and then send that to that specific person, which is a really helpful resource as well going from there. Preston, I'm going to stop for a second. Is there anything else I can clarify more? Is this pretty good? Any questions on things I've said?
That sounds good to me. You've covered a lot of the good stuff and adding those specific use cases. So understanding internships versus paid staff and just making sure the permissions are set up to just what that person needs. We always recommend going down to the limited rather than maximum, just as Daniel was talking about. You don't want somebody accidentally getting in there and messing stuff up. But other than that, I don't see any questions about admin. So I think we're covering it right now.
Awesome. Well, I'll add two quick things I think are always important. The account owner, changing that over. If you have an admin right here and you want to move from Mark to Mini, if you go to the settings under Mini, you could say switch to account owner. So that is the account owner can make that move. No one else can make the move. If you ever need somebody to be the head of your Tithely account, that is step one on going that. And we're not going down that process today, but I just wanted to show you that. And then the other option I want to bring up to you as well is if you want somebody to have access to Tithely Pay, which is our point of sale operating service there, admins cannot access Tithely Pay. Account owners can't, and limited access users who have been chosen to can. So if you're ever wondering why my admins can't, there's some functionality within our system that doesn't allow it to work that way. So just by all means, give them limited access and then give them access to everything, including pay, and they'll be able to jump right into pay. And so there we go. That is our first set of information we are going to go through today, which is managing admin users. Our next thing we're going to cover today as we go down the line here. Oh, I should have showed our nice slides. I missed this part. User permissions, adding a new user, all great stuff. is managing giving funds. And so we'll put the fun back in managing funds. I always want to say that statement because I think it sounds funny to me. But we're going to jump back over to our test site there, and I'm going to show you how to play with your funds and what you can do to make them more effective or move things around in ways that might be necessary. If we jump back over here, I can actually make it full screen. I don't have to worry about the global settings anymore. The first step is click giving. And once you're inside giving, you're going to come on down to fund management here on the second tab. So you get your first row of tabs, your second row of tabs. Within here, you click fund management. Once you're inside fund management, this is where you can make any changes you may need or edits you may want to make to funds you already have. So the first I'm going to show you is how to make a new fund because that's always the most important place to start. That is up here on the top right. There's a button that says add fund and it says plus if you see it up here. Don't worry about this integrations thing. Shouldn't affect anybody of you. That's just on my end. But if I click add fund and I jump in here, the first thing I could do is I give it a name. Whatever fund, whatever I need to call it. Let's call it Easter fund, right? Because we're in the week of Easter, baby. It's one of the most fun and stressful parts of church running, and all you can ever do is Easter week. Um, so the first thing is down below. There are three options that you can choose once you've typed in your name, Easter fund. And please keep in mind you can name this whatever you want, but just keep it so that you can distinguish it. You go too long, you can get in trouble too. Make tax deductible. So this comes in handy later on in tax season. Any fund that's not tax deductible won't show up on people's tax forms at the end. And so if it's not a tax deductible fund, uncheck. If it is, leave it checked off. The next thing is make fund visible on all forms. This one allows you to create a fund that does not show up on your standard giving form. But never fear, if you've watched any of our other webinars, you can create a direct link to that fund. So this would be a use case where you don't want to have it be on the form because you want people to pick it, but you want people to give to it. You create a second fund that's not showing up on the form, and then you create a link to it directly, which really helps people give to something very specific. The third thing below here is make default fund for text giving. So unfortunately, and not unfortunately, if you use text giving, this is a great feature for you. If you don't use text giving, it kind of gets in the way, but I'll show you what to deal with it. One fund has to have this make default for text giving fund at all times. You can see right here, this tithe is at default text giving fund. The only time it matters is for text giving. Other than that, it doesn't matter, but there has to be one. You cannot archive or remove this one. It has to stay there until it's there, but you can move it to another one. So say this tithe default text giving fund, if I wanted to make my Easter fund the default for text giving fund, if I check this off and hit save, it would remove it from here and add it to this one. And then that would be the fund that I can't remove. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything crazy for you. It's not going to blow things up on you. It's just going to change which fund is your default text giving fund. How that works, just so if you use in the back of your mind going, well, tell me about this, Daniel. How that works is if someone uses text giving and they just give a number, they don't give a fund. If they say give 100 and they don't say give 100 to test, which is one of my funds up here, or to tithe, then the default text giving fund is where that money will go. So you could track it later. It's just a place to catch all of the funds that are not designated in text giving. That's a little secondary Tithely tip there, but don't overthink it. Once you have made your church fund here, Easter fund, I hit save. It's going to load up down here at the bottom, which it's not showing up for me, which again is awesome. Let me go. We're having fun here today. I can't see everything because I can't scroll all the way down because it's black bar. So it's underneath this bar here, which you won't have that problem with. I do apologize, but we have it around. So there we go. We made a new fund. Oh no, there it is. Never mind. I missed it. I apologize. It's highlighted blue. Here's our new fund. I thought it was down the bottom. I couldn't see it, but we have it here under Easter fund, which is great. So it shows up. The next thing you can do once you've created these funds is you can move it around. Say I want this at the top of my giving form. I take it, I drag it up, and now whenever someone opens up my giving form, Easter fund will be at the top instead of the other funds. And say you go, okay, you know what, honestly, I don't want this visible. I'd rather do a direct link, but I've already made the fund. Only just click on the fund anywhere. It'll load up the sidebar, and over here, make visible all funds. I check this, I hit save, and now my Easter fund is hidden. So it will not show up in my form. Peer-to-peer sponsorship will be at the top, but I could still have it at the top there because it's hidden. And so now you go, you know what? I don't need Easter fund. It's the week after we're done using it. What do I do with this fund? I don't want it to be given to it all. Well, what you could do there is you click into it. And as long as it's not your default for text giving fund, there's this great little archive button here. And archive is our delete button. There's no deleting of our funds for good reasons, but in general, if you ever need to pull it back or see it back, it's always there for you to get back in your pocket. So it's not something you want to have disappear permanently, but you can archive it. And so when I hit archive, you're going to see it disappear. It's gone. I cannot find it. No, it's not hidden behind the red bar this time. It is completely gone. And that has been archived. Now you're like, well, Daniel, I need it back. Oh, well, let me help you with that. So what happens is you go into filter, you go into status, and you scroll down to choose an option. And under choose an option, you'll see all visible funds, all hidden funds, and all archive funds. This will allow you to sort through each one of those categories and see what specifically it is in those areas. So I'm going to click archived and hit apply. As I come in here, we go, oh, wow, there's a couple of them in here that are hidden. And so what I look here is Easter fund. I want to bring this back. So I click into it. I come over here, I hit unarchive fund, and I hit make visible or invisible, and I can make tax deductible, not tax deductible, and hit reactivate. And it's gone out of here, and we have now reactivated that fund. It is now back over on the other side. And so if I hit X next to the archive status, this allows me to go back over, and boom, Easter fund is there, ready to be used again, and it's in a good, happy place. I do want to make mention that any archived fund cannot be given to in any capacity. So if you got recurring donations, those won't work anymore. And if someone has a direct link to it, those won't work anymore. It takes it off the picture completely. It cannot be given to. And so just to have that comfort to know that that fund can't be used anymore is great. A couple other extra things there, but I wanted to pause for a second. Is there any good questions, Preston? Anything that we want to answer verbally, or are we doing good?
Um, no questions yet about the giving funds, but as you mentioned with that recurring giving, and that giving link, that those both disappear when it's archived. I think it's also good to note that anybody who's given to it historically, that doesn't change. So on the giving statement, end of year, or if that donor logs into their account, even though the fund is archived, if they gave to it while it was active, it's not going to change their past records. So anybody who did give to that fund will still be able to see that, and you'll be able to pull that up for reporting as well. So if you just have a temporary fund, but you still want to report on it at the end of the year, you'll still have that information.
Excellent. Yes, and that's a great Tithely tip. And I'd add one more. You are able to go in and change the name of a fund. If I come into Easter, and I don't want it to be Easter Fund, I just want it to be called Easter Fund. Just mistyped two, got a little excited, and I hit save. What you should know at this point when you hit this change on if it's already been given to fund, is that at the end of year tax statements, it's gonna say the name that you changed it to, but your donors may have given to a different named fund. So say I gave to Easter Fund today, and the end of year you had changed it to Easter Fund. And then when tax statements come, I'm going to see that on my tax statement, I gave to the fund Easter Fund instead of Easter Fund. I should have changed a different name there. That's too close and similar, but you get what I'm saying. Make sure if you choose to change a name of a fund and it's already been given to that year, that you communicate very clearly with your donors that that's what they should be looking for on their end of year statement. Or I think best practice is don't change the name of the fund until the beginning of a new year so that it doesn't show up on the tax statements there, or make a brand new one and just archive the old one. There's a lot of ways to get around it, but just so you know, if you do change that name, it will show up different on your end of year statements. And you don't want to confuse your donors. You want them to feel confident and great that they gave when they get their tax statements. You want them to see clearly what's going on their end. So that's kind of the end of our fund management. You can move things around. You could add new funds in. You can make them visible and invisible. You can make them tax deductible and not taxable. So you can archive them. There's a lot of great features within this. Please make sure to go in and get comfortable playing with it. And as always, reach out to our support team if you have any questions about what's going on there. Let's jump back over to our slideshow. I kind of already went through this stuff here. Manage funds, add, edit, manipulate your funds. The last part of this webinar today is speakers and kind of the speaking groups that you can create within your Tithely site. And so we're going to jump actually and show you here the Tithely speakers and groups. The first thing we're going to go through is we're going to go admin, people users, add or edit, and guest speakers. And so this is where you could kind of create speakers and build out how things are going to look within your Tithely site. No Q&A. So let's jump on over. And this is my demo site. I get to have a lot of fun with it. I'm showing you this first because this is a really cool part. This is where you add your users. So let's jump into sites here though. So say you're in sites and you want to go in and you go to admin and you go to people and you want to add a new person. This person you add right here. So let me show you it again. Admin, people, users pops up here. This is where you can add a person into your system that could be a permanent speaker. This can be that person that's going to come every couple months, or someone in your church that gets an opportunity to speak, or just you have multiple preachers and you want to have them be able to be labeled and marked within your site when you put a sermon up on your website. And so that what you will do is you're going to add someone, you click add people or user. What's going to happen? This is going to pop up here. And so what you do is you type in their first name. That's the only thing required, honestly. So if you don't want to give them a last name, a title, you don't want to give them kind of a login function, which you don't really need to do with anybody. You can give access to Tithely sites from the Tithely settings we already covered earlier today. This would just be if they needed their own login for whatever reason, you wanted them to work on one specific part of the site. And so add their name in, we'll just call it Daniel for fun. Actually, we'll call it minister. That's perfect. And then you come down and hit save. That's all you got to do. You've added a person and it loads up immediately to their profile settings. And right here, if you want to add them to your speaker group, on this right side, you see permissions and groups. If I were to hit edit and jump on in, I can add them as a staff, a speaker, an elder, or a stream master. And these different groups can be called out later at a different part of sites on a different webinar. I'm sure we have covered this, but in the future time, please check into sites to see more how this works. But if I mark them off as a speaker, they will be able to be called out as a speaker going forward in other areas of the site. And so back to general as well, I do want to cover, if you want to add their information later, you can, and you can hit save. But I've added this person. I'm going to jump in, edit. I'm going to add them as a speaker. I'm going to hit save. And then right there, I have a speaker and I can they'll be added to that speaker group going forward. The other thing to note right below here, manage organization groups. That's what this is called, by the way, organization groups. If I were to click this, it'll let me come into the settings area, and how to get here manually, by the way, is just settings. And then down here under the settings function, it loads up down our organization groups. You can add in new groups. You can make as many different groups as you want within Tithely to sites to call them into other areas. But for now, speaker, by the way, you can't edit and change because that's built into all the other functionality of the site. But the other ones you can add in as much as you like. Just wanted to show you that real quick. I'm going to back up here. So I've added this person as speaker, this minister, and now I jump out of this. Now I want to go over to my sermons area of my website. So here's a sermon. I've added one in, but I'm going to add a new sermon. So I'm going to come up here on the sermons. Here, I'm going to come up to pencil. I'm going to never mind. I'm not in sermons yet. Let me jump into sermons. Let me jump into here. There we go. Let me jump into the sermon. I apologize. When I jump into the sermon, I can come up here to the pencil and I can edit the sermon here, or on the top right, I can use quick actions and I can add a sermon right here. So I want to show you the two different options. So again, I'll slow that down a little bit because I can go quick. Up here on the top left, I can edit the specific sermon, or under quick function anywhere on the page, I can add a sermon. So if I come in to add a sermon, it's going to give me this option for a title. I'm just going to call this sermon. I'm being very basic here, but for simple reasons. No subtitle. I'm going to give it the date of this Sunday, April 20th. And here is where we talked about speakers being added to your sermons. So here's the helpful part there. There's a guest speaker function. You can just leave it guest speaker. It's generic, it's blank. It allows it to be simple enough where you don't have to add a new speaker every time. Or I can go down, and because I added minister before, I could choose minister as my speaker. And right here below, by the way, it does show you how to add speakers to the system again, if you're wondering. Then I scroll down, and I could skip all of this for now. And I come down and I hit and fill out all the information I want to add in. And I scroll up to create sermon. And I've made a new sermon. There's no media for it because I didn't add any media, and it's a future sermon because it's coming down the line, but April 20th, and then sermon, crazy land videos, and then sermon. So this is kind of the whole area here. So you get to see what's going on within sermon. So you can see the minister is speaking on April 20th. The title of it is called sermon, and you go from there. Now, if you want to go back in, oops, I picked the wrong speaker, I can go to the edit pencil. I can edit this sermon, jump back in, and instead of it being minister, say I want it to be Bob Smith. And from there, I'm allowed to save the sermon. It will make that change and bump it back over. Once it refreshes, Bob Smith, bookkeeper, will be speaking on April 20th there. So lastly, I mentioned before, there is a way to enter in a speaker here to help people see that it's a guest speaker that's not coming on time. Say someone's coming this Easter, it's never coming to speak again, and you already got 50 speakers in there. You don't want to add another person. Here's a little Tithely trick that you can use. So what I would say is going in to edit the sermon, or when you make the new one, either way, I go in to edit the sermon. So I don't add a speaker. I just click the guest speaker function. Down here under description, what we suggest doing is putting the first name, putting the name of the person first in the description. So Daniel Mack will be speaking, I could type right, on Easter. And I type this in. And so right here, now when I hit save, though it's not going to show up right here under guest speaker, it will show up right below under description. Daniel Mack will be speaking on Easter. And so this allows you to still give credit to a speaker without adding them every single speaker in that comes into your system. And so this is kind of the different ways you can work around and add in speakers and help people just feel great about coming to speak at your church. Because I know I led a church for 12 years. I had guest speakers come in. I wanted them to get the honor. I wanted people to know this is who's coming. It was very important. And so I'm going to stop for a second here, Preston. Anything else I can cover in depth or any questions of people that would be helpful to answer audibly here?
Yeah, it doesn't look like we've got any questions so far about Tithely Sites admins, but that covers a great use case. When you've got those guest speakers coming in, you want to make sure people know who it is who's speaking and make sure you just categorize that and give them the title correctly there. So if you have any questions about that, I think I saw Kevin raised his hand. So if you want to drop that question in the Q&A, then we will go ahead and answer those in just a moment.
Excellent. All right, well, I'm going to pop back over to our slideshow and drag on down. We are at our Q&A session here. So if there are any questions, anything else that you want us to explain in greater detail, please reach out now and we will answer those as we see them come through.
Barbara's asked a question in the chat about reconciling. Looks like she's asking about QuickBooks and reconciling with deposits. So I've sent her the article on how to print bank deposits, which is really helpful if you want to kind of do that comparative, looking at your bank deposits from Tithely, as well as your own bank statements, and then QuickBooks, whatever your accounting is. One thing, we don't have operation manuals on best practices for that at the moment. Daniel, if you have any thoughts about this, feel free to jump in. I think the only thing I would mention is understanding that fees, a lot of people kind of get confused on how to reconcile or record fees. So how that works is when Tithely deposits into your bank account, the fees are already taken out. So Tithely will, in their giving statements, share the gross amount, but what hits your bank account and often what hits your QuickBooks account, if your QuickBooks is connected to your bank, is the net. So just be aware of that when you're reconciling your books, that sometimes if your gross and net looks different, that's just the difference of fees there. So a lot of people kind of get tricked up on that. And we have tons of articles about this as well. So you can head to the Help Center and just look up fees and you'll see a whole list of stuff there. So Daniel, I don't know if you have any other tips or best practices in reconciliation or if that kind of covers it.
No, you covered it very well, Preston, the QuickBooks stuff. We do have a can Tithely link in Pro Presenter. I don't know. I've never used Pro Presenter. Do you have an answer to that
Tithely
one?
does not go into Pro Presenter at this time, but stay tuned for more integrations. You can learn more about our integrations again on our website or in the Help Center.
Hmm.
And also, if you're a Breeze user, we have some really cool worship tools that you might be interested in there that really help with service planning and using those tools. So if you have the Breeze bundle, you should check out that. So you can go to the Breeze Help Center and have a look there. I'll send a link to your message, Kelly, so you can check that out.
Perfect. Where is the help center and how to access it? That is an excellent question.
That's a
So
great question.
you'll pop that in the chat there. But in general, if you're on any Tithely page, really easily, first of all, there's always the question mark up here, help support. You can click this, and there's a whole bunch of information with inside of here that you always want to try to use. The bottom one is always help articles. And so you can click into here and then you'll see the help articles within, so you don't have to actually jump out of it. But then say I want to go to site design. I click this, it'll open up a new tab. That'll bring you over into the help articles. And then you could play around from there and you could search for any help article from this point. And so when I click on Tithely back here, it also brings you back to this main page where it gives you our basic help area. And then from there, just search for any help article you may want. You type in sites. A lot of times you'll get a whole bunch of search options for that. And then you can hit enter and it'll load up all the different site help articles if that's that generic, or if there's a very specific thing you're looking for, such as integrations for this, you could type those in as well. And so really anywhere in any one of our sites, I go back over here to the funds, you could come down here to the help, scroll down, message guide, referrals, contacts, tell the university, onboarding, getting started check. So all these different functionalities are within here. And then also on the bottom right corner on a lot of pages, there is the help chat bubble where you can actually search for your help articles here as well. But on top of that, you can also go right to, is it help? What is the actual URL? I don't actually have it fully memorized. What
I
is that?
dropped it in there, but it's
Perfect.
just help.tithe.ly. So super easy.
Perfect.
Help.tithe.ly. You can also Google it, search it there. With that chatbot, that's honestly one of our most useful tools. It
Okay.
will be able to understand your question and provide an answer right away. And if it doesn't get it right, you'll get passed on to an agent. So we try not to create that frustrating back and forth with a bot. We just give you an easy answer. And then if you need more help, our agents are always willing and able to jump on a call with you.
Excellent. We're sitting at 1:36, so 36 minutes in. Are there any other questions? We'll give you another 30 seconds because sometimes you're thinking, trying to type. Don't worry, I'm not going to cut you off mid-type. So if you're typing it right now, we're going to give you a little bit more time. Finish typing that question. If not, totally fine. Um, Questions come up later on. I mean, there's always a million questions. I'm one of those people who always has a million questions too. So I enjoy questions. Oh, here we go. How do I create a direct giving link? You know what? I'll show that real quickly. Why not? We got the time for that. Let me just show. So jump on over here to giving, click on giving form. Within giving form, you have these four different options. Your giving form URL, which is your standard giving form, your embed code for putting on site, your kiosk URL, which allows you to open up on a computer in person and let people give, and then create custom link. This is the magical one here. I love this. So if you create a custom link, you could come in, you could choose a default amount, we'll say $10. You could choose a default fund, that nice Easter fund I made, and create this custom link. And when I do that, it gives me a form URL that lets me open up right to that fund and amount. And I'll show you that as well because I think it's really helpful. I pop it open here. So now we see it defaults to $10 and it locks the fund. So there's great functionality within this. The fund can't be changed. So if you create this direct giving link, someone can't give to the wrong fund by accident, which is really important, I know. And then they could still give more if they want to be generous. So the number is not locked on, but the fund is. And there you go. You could share this link. This link will always be active too, unless, as stated before, if you archive it. But if you go in and make that fund hidden, so if I go back over here to the Tithely side and I go back in and I back out to the fund management and I hide this Easter fund so it's no longer visible. I should drop this down, excuse me. Hit save. That fund right here, this direct link will still work. So you can make a fund, hide it, and then make direct links for people to be able to give to specifically going forward.
Yeah, I love that feature too. It's super helpful on the website if you do specific calls to action. So if you want somebody to donate at the $10 level, $100 level, $500 level, if that's how you get people to donate, then that's a great way to just set up those custom funds and lock them
Yep.
into that amount and go from there. Valerie asks when this webinar video will be available to view. It could be up on YouTube as early as this afternoon. So it'll be on YouTube and as well as our Tithely University. So you will also get an email as you've registered when that is live. So check out your email and that will let you know when this video is ready to be re-watched.
Unfortunately, we're not going to, Melinda, I see you there. We're not going to be able to jump into Elvanto at this time, but we can send you some resources on that as well if you have those readily available.
Yeah,
for us to
Melinda, I'll
prepare.
send you some help center articles, but you can definitely reach out to our support team and they can
Yes,
help walk you through that and yeah, help you out there.
but that's a great question. And there we go. So do you have training for new Tithely user? Every time someone signs up for Tithely, you should have received a welcome email and some welcome function, but I will show you there is an onboarding. Actually, do you have that URL readily available too, Preston, the onboarding one that brings them right to base onboarding page?
I can pull that up. I'm grabbing the
Yeah.
Avanto link real quick and
Okay,
then I can
sure.
pull that.
I can't go off screen here. So, all
No
right, you know,
worries.
so yeah, so Donna answer that one live there. We do have an onboarding landing page, but you should have received a welcome email that would have kind of showed you how to start down the path for the training. If you're a new Tithely user, part of a church has been using a long time, just reach out at grow@tithe.ly and you'll be able to get the support you need for the onboarding part as well. So that's GRO@tithe.ly, grow@tithe.ly. Donna, if you could write that down. If not, then you'll be able to go right from there. Oh, we already have Tithely, but you're new. Yeah. Reach right out to grow with your question on what you're looking for specifically, and we'll be able to get you the help you need for sure.
Awesome.
And where are we at? These questions are last one there. Sorry if this question not relevant to the webinar. Can you mention what ways they check people's attendance? So that would not be on this side of our webinar. That would be on the Breeze side for check-in attendance. That's a different webinar we'll have to cover on a different day, but
Yeah, part of Tithely University, where this webinar will be hosted once we finish up, you can also find other helpful resources,
yes.
both for Tithely and Breeze. So in actually last month's, we talked about service planning for Breeze, specifically getting ready for Easter. So if you want to head over to that, let me drop the link back into our chat and then
Yes.
you can check it out there. And that's got a ton of onboarding materials for new signups, as well as we just do webinars like this that are pre or not pre-recorded, but they're recorded live and then we post them to Tithely University. So you can watch those, check them out, and it has a ton of helpful information. So I'm going to pop this in the general chat so anybody can head over there.
Perfect. So that was the our church Breeze to manage finances and transitioning to Tithely. Okay, our church uses Breeze to manage finances, and
Cool.
transitioning to Tithely is a
Nice.
mystery. Is a
Oh,
mystery. So, do you have a specific question, Valerie, that I can maybe answer now? And as you're thinking, you could type that back in. I'll um I'll jump on down to the last question we have available is
mhm.
does Tithely have an app that guests can sign in themselves? So the answer is not yet. I believe that is something they are working on. It's just not something that has been produced and realized yet. And
Mhm.
so at this point, the check-in on the app is not an available feature that we have. Now for Breeze, you can link over to Breeze to the app, but that's not as direct as people want. And so there are some different ways to kind of make it work to some way, but for the most part, checking in has to be done not via the app.
Yeah, I would definitely, Kelly, if you're not using a Breeze app for and I don't know if you're talking about like kids check-in or something like that, but
Yeah,
the Breeze app has got a lot more comprehensive platform for actual service management,
yeah,
which really helps out for those types of use cases. And Joy's kind of segueing into that topic. What's the difference in Tithely
mhm,
and Breeze?
there you go.
If you have not done a demo with Breeze, I highly recommend it. You can sign up and we can send you over to our team to help you out with that. But really, Breeze, as just mentioning, the main differences is Breeze has got more service-based features. So that's your check-in tools, that's your service planning and volunteer management. So planning your Sunday service, getting people scheduled, and contacting them through there. And then Tidely focuses a lot more on the giving side of things and we are ever working on integrating these two platforms more and more. So definitely stay tuned. I won't, well, this is a little teaser, but stay tuned for our marketing materials on what's coming down for Tithely and Breeze as they become more joined together to get the best of all Breeze products and the best of all Tithely products under one umbrella. I'm really excited about where we're going with that, but that's your just quick overview. So, Joyce, I'll send you a link and you can sign up for a demo, and then the team can walk you through those differences and help you even get early access to some of these tools.
Great answer. Oh, answer that was
Cool.
up.
Well, I think, Daniel, is there any other things you want to leave them with? Otherwise, I think we might wrap up today.
Reach out to support if you needs help. They're always ready to help you out. And then join our Facebook groups. Obviously, we have Facebook groups you can join and even get connection. I have churches ask me from time to time, can you give me a list of churches that use your product so I could talk to them about it? I'm like, no, I can't because that's privacy protection laws. But what you could do is join a Facebook group and find other people that use it and communicate with them there in the open where we don't have to give you that information. So that's a very important tool. I encourage you to go check that out for sure.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us. As always, we love to be able to serve and share and explain what's going on entirely and how to better use our platform for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for attending, and you'll get an email shortly. We'll see y'all.
Bye.